So I don't know who needs to hear this, right? This has sort of been on my heart all week to talk about. So, I decided to come out here and make this video real quick. And so I don't know who needs to hear this, but you are doing so much better than you've given yourself credit for. You are doing a lot better than you even realize, right? You have been constantly beating yourself up, constantly looking at all the things that you're yet to accomplish, or looking at all the things that you're yet to have, or you have been comparing where you are right now in your life to where other people are at, and or to the things that other people have. And because of this, you feel like you're not doing enough, or you feel like you're not enough. But have you paused for a moment? Have you taken a moment and truly pat yourself on the back? Truly give yourself credit for how far you've come in your life? Have you taken a moment to reflect? Look at where you're coming from and where you are today, and truly give appreciation. Truly give yourself credit for how far you've come. A lot of us spend so much of our lives focusing on what we want to achieve, right? Focusing on the things that we're yet to have, right? And I'm not necessarily saying this is a bad thing, because you should constantly be striving for progress. But I think in our fixation on what we're yet to achieve, in our fixation for what we're yet to have, we sort of undermine ourselves in a lot of ways. We sort of fail to give ourselves appreciation, give ourselves credit, right, for how far we've made it in our lives. See, this thing that we call life, right? This thing that we call existence, it isn't easy. I would never come on here and say that life is easy. Life is not easy at all. This thing that we call life, being on this planet, it is very, 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 very difficult. It's kind of like you were randomly dropped in someone else's saved game, right? So you were dropped in the middle of a game that you know absolutely nothing about. You don't know the rules of the game. There's very little guidance. You don't know what you need to do. Sometimes you feel confused. Sometimes you wonder if you're on the right path. Sometimes you wonder if you're doing enough, right? You were dropped in the middle of someone else's game. And then it's kind of like you have to figure it all out for yourself for the most part. You have to be the one to figure yourself out first and foremost, but then figure life out, and where you want to go in your life. And especially if you're the type of person who came from very little, right? Meaning the people that you were born, you know, life and the family you were born into, you know, they didn't have, you know, they didn't have it the best financially, so on and so forth. Or not even that, especially if you were the type of person who had very little guidance. You didn't have someone to constantly guide you who had the proper wisdom and knowledge, so on and so forth, right? That in itself makes this thing that we call life a whole lot more difficult, right? And so a lot of us, we don't even stop for a moment and truly recognize that we are doing a lot better than we even realize it. We don't take a moment to appreciate how far we've come. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, constantly undermining ourselves, constantly looking at the journey ahead and looking at things that we want to achieve and we're yet to achieve. And that takes us away from truly appreciating ourselves in the present moment. And to me, that's no way to truly live. I think when you're on your path, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to keep moving forward, but keep appreciating and keep giving yourself credit as you move along, right? If you look at where you are right now in your life, right? And you look back at the past and you see in the progress that you've made, that should be all the reason for you to feel good about your journey, right? Even if the progress you've made is very little, even if you started a business and you're just making $1,000 a month or $500 a month from that business, that is still 500 more than what you started with, right? It is still something. And even if the progress isn't, you know, monetary, then you've essentially gained a whole lot more wisdom and knowledge, you know, than you started with. And those small things, they are reasons for us to feel good about ourselves. Even the fact that you had the courage to start, you had the courage to say, I'm gonna go for what I desire. Even the courage to start, even the courage to do something is to me enough for you to feel good about yourself and to feel good about your progress. Because most people don't even give themselves a chance. Most people never start. Most people are sitting on dreams, aspiration, goals that they constantly postpone. They constantly tell themselves they're gonna start tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, and then they say tomorrow again, and they keep postponing. You know when they're gonna start, right? Even those small things that we forget, to me, is enough for us to appreciate ourselves. Those small things. Now, I was kind of saying to myself the other day, right? I was saying that the people who truly feel the most pain in life are really ambitious people. Ambitious people feel the most pain in life, right? Because if you're the type of person who is always striving for more, if you're the type of person who's always striving to be better, right? That distance between where you are and where you want to be is going to cause you a whole lot of pain. You're always going to be in a state of comparison. You're always going to be in a state of thinking you're not doing enough, right? Thinking you should be ahead, right? You're always going to be in a state of comparison, right? And that is going to little by little rob you of your joy. It's going to little by little rob you of your happiness. So the people who truly feel the most pain in life are the ambitious people, the most ambitious people, because they are never truly satisfied. They always want more. And the interesting thing about life and wanting more is that there's no end to more, right? You're gonna hit your goals, you're gonna hit the things that you want to accomplish, and then there's gonna be another goal. Then there's gonna be another thing that you desire. So there's truly no end to ambition. There's no end to more, right? And so the best thing that you can do, right, if you're an ambitious person, is to take some time to appreciate yourself on the journey, is to take some time to reflect, right? And truly recognize how far you've come, recognize the progress that you've made, and give yourself credit for how far you've come. All right, that is one of the best things you can do if you're a person who's ambitious. See, only a fool is kind of happy all the time, right? Only a fool is happy all the time, right? You know what they say, ignorance is bliss. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement, but only a fool is happy all the time. But I think from time to time we all need to be a bit of a fool, right? I think we all need to be a bit of a fool from time to time. The fool is probably the type of person who is happy where they're at in life. The fool is probably the type of person who is just content in being, content in just living. And maybe we all need to be a bit of a fool from time to time, you know? Very often I'll hear people say, you shouldn't be content with where you are. You shouldn't be content in your life. You should always want more, right? And I understand what they're saying when they say that, but there's a part of me that always goes, I don't know, it just never sat right with me. Because if I'm not content with where I'm at in life, then I'm unhappy with where I am. If I'm not content with life right now, then the opposite of that is to be, dissatisfied or unhappy. And is that the way we're meant to truly live? Were we truly meant to be unhappy with our lives? I think you should be happy where you are. You should be content where you are. But being content with where you are doesn't mean that you don't desire to have more. It just means that you see where you are right now as enough. It means that you see abundance right where you are. But it doesn't mean that you stop striving for more. It means that you can look at your life right now. You can look at the things you've accomplished. You can look at the abundance that is in your life, right? You can look at the goodness that is in your life and you can say, this is amazing, right? You can say, this is good. I've come far. There are a lot of things right now that I can be grateful for. But being grateful and being content with where your life is doesn't mean you stop striving for more. And I think that's the conflict that a lot of people struggle with. They think being content with where you are right now means that you randomly stop striving for more, and that's not true at all. That's absolutely not true. Now, if you're the type of person who isn't working to be better, become a better version of yourself, or if you're the type of person who's in comfort, so on and so forth, I think that's a different case. I think that's a completely different case. Because essentially what you've done is you've allowed fear to continuously rob you of your life. And the person who's living in comfort is the person who isn't truly living, right? The person who's living in comfort isn't living at all because there's a balance to life. Most people are either one end of the spectrum. They're not in the mid. They're not on the middle path, right? Most people either they are stagnant, meaning they live their whole lives in comfort. They're not striving to be better. They're not striving to progress. Or most people are constantly on the rat race. They're constantly striving and striving and hustling and tussling and bustling for more, 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 more. Right? And those two types of people, they're never truly happy. They don't know peace. Because if you think about it, those two types of people are operating with the same mechanism in two different ways, right? So the person who lives their life in comfort, who doesn't strive to be better, and the person who's constantly on the rat race of life, they are both living or operating from fear. One is operating from the fear that they might not be good enough for the life that they want, and one is operating from the fear that as long as they don't have more, they're not good enough, right? So they're both using the same mechanism of fear, but they're using it differently. So both those people will never truly find happiness. Only the person who can be content with his or herself, right? Only the person who can be happy where they are while still striving for more, while still doing more, while still showing up and giving their best. Only that person can truly be happy. Only that person can be peaceful because that person is operating from a place of love. That person is operating from a place of enoughness. They see abundance where they are, but they know that there's no end to abundance. They've seen how far they've come, but they recognize that the journey of life is never over until you die. And so they are content, right? They are peaceful with where they are, but they know that there is always a path to continue walking as long as there's breath in their body, as long as they're alive. And that is the person who truly finds joy, happiness, peace in this life. Because he's not remaining stagnant because he's in fear of not being good enough. And he's not constantly striving because he's in fear that as long as he doesn't have more, he's not enough. He's okay with being, but yet from his being, there is an effortless doing. Some traditions call it wu wei, right? Or the flow, right? But probably went on a bit of a tangent there. Um, but yeah, don't allow your desire, don't allow your pursuit of more to rob you of your present joy. Because at the end of the day, even when you get all the tools in the world, even when you get all the success that you desire, even when you get all the toys that you desire, so on and so forth, even when you achieve all the things that you want to achieve in life, you still have to come back to yourself. And the joy that you're going to get as a result of hitting certain goals and having all the toys in the world and things of the world is still going to pale in comparison to the joy that you could be experiencing in this moment, right? By giving yourself appreciation, by giving yourself love, by being in the present moment and recognize that there is goodness in your life right now, and recognize that you've made it very far from where you've started. You probably started with very little, probably didn't grow up in the best family, probably didn't have the necessary or the amount of guidance that you desired. So you probably had to make a lot of mistakes along the path to get where you are. But at the end of the day, you've come far. And I think that is enough for you to give yourself some appreciation. I think that is enough for you to feel good about yourself. Never attach your sense of self and how you feel about yourself to the unattained or to what you're yet to achieve. Never attach how you feel about yourself to that. No, the person who attaches his or her sense of self to the unattained will never attain their sense of self. That's a bar. What did I just say? The person who attaches their sense of self to the unattained will never attain a sense of self. And that pretty much means that if how you feel about yourself is attached to what you're yet to have, then you will never have the feeling of feeling good about yourself because the unattained will always remain the unattained. And you can never truly have the unattained because it will always be a moving target. It will always be just out of your reach. And once your sense of self is attached to the unattained, then you will never truly have a sense of self, right? You will never have a sense of self. So yeah, my good people, go outside, go live, Maybe put the fucking work down a bit. Go sit in nature. Go sit near the beach. Go sit near by the water. Do something that takes you away from the endless striving for just even maybe a little bit. And then you can get back to it, right? Then you can get back to it, you know? Yeah, so take care of yourselves. Give yourselves a bit of love every day, like I always say. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and blessings.